Welcome to I Change the Narrative, a podcast for and about Black men inspiring, supporting, and empowering Black men and Black boys. For today's conversation, we're reflecting on the wins and challenges of being a Black man. Before we start the conversation, I want to ask our guests to tell us about themselves and the work that they're involved in that lends itself to the topic or the lived experience. We're going to start with our good friend Ty.
How's it going, everybody? First off, thank you, Nika, for having us on. Very excited to be a part of this. Tyrone Baker, I'm a line producer in the film industry. Married to my beautiful wife, Lakeisha. Got 5 handsome young men. Um, you know, I love what I do. I love photography. Love creating, and I'm also the creator and host of Safe Space Podcast, a podcast for Black men and men of color to come and have open, real conversations about day-to-day things that affect them and how we can overcome them.
Thank you so much, Ty. Will,
Will Crosby, co-host of Safe Space Podcast. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Tony Crosby. I have 4 children, 3 girls, 1 boy, and yeah, I'm just excited to be here.
awesome. Thank you so much. Piero,
Hi, I'm Piero Coleman. I'm a father of 4. I'm also married as well to my beautiful wife, Diva Coleman. I do security, and I also have a small catering business.
awesome. Thank you so much. Dax,
What's going on, everybody? My name is Dak Saddy, co-host of Safe Space with the boys. I am married as well. My beautiful wife, as they say. Been married for my first year. Just got out of my first year of it. I'm also a line producer and a production manager in television. So I'm just here enjoying myself.
thank you all so much for being a part of this conversation. This episode is powered by Positioned to Prosper Coaching, where they offer individual, group life, and business coaching. They'll help you to discover your purpose, develop your plan, and dominate in your industry. Visit www.positioned, the number 2, prosper coaching.com, or you can call 410-929-6111 to schedule your consultation today. This episode, I am particularly very excited to have you all on because this is a conversation that just allows Black men to reflect on the challenges and wins of being a Black man. So, my first question, and anyone can take it: how would you like to see Black men defined?
Ooh,
That's a
hey,
good one.
oh, that's a great question. I would like to see us defined as leaders. I would leaders of our families, leaders of our communities. I understand that in order for that to take place, though, there's a lot of changes that need to be made, amongst ourselves, in order to be looked at that way.
Hmm.
But in a perfect world, that's what I would like. I would like for us to be defined as leaders. I would like for the father role to be more pronounced because I just feel like it's been devalued for a long time amongst our culture. And yeah, I'm just big on leadership amongst our community, amongst Black men. So that's important to me.
I like that. I was going to say leadership, but I would say overcomers. Society has us pinned against the wall.
Good one.
As Black men, I know for me, that helps me go even harder. When someone tells me I can't do it, I'm going to try even harder and I'm going to educate myself even more to make sure that I will understand it and overcome that. And I look at the Black men around me and the people that I have in my life that have had that before me that I've had to overcome things. So I would say an overcomer.
Um, for me, I kind of agree with Will and Ty. I think overcomers, leaders, those are great starting points. But I think we just want to be acknowledged as human beings as well. Yeah, I think let's look at the whole picture of it. I think for the longest time, the black man has always been there for the grunt work, or the end of the conversation. And I think for the first time, I think it's safe to say that we would love to be considered at the top of the conversation and our voice to be heard,
Wow.
you know. And I think so the human aspect that we exist to and deserve equality,
Yeah.
I think would be my take on
Come on, Dax.
That's good.
that.
Love that. I love that.
Mhm.
I would agree with each of them. I was gonna say human as well, because uh, you know, growing up, a young black man growing is it seems like we're feared. It's been said that they want us to lead, but there's also pushback because there's automatically assumption of aggression from a male, and is it's hard to be respected because you're is automatically assumed that you're not a human, like you're an animal basically.
Yep.
I like that. I like what Dax and Piero said, human, because that is the whole entire reason why I came up with this project years ago was because of I was researching in grad school how the black man was looked at in media. And those first words that I saw on throughout research was animals and beast-like.
Mm.
And you all were compared to an ape. And that's how, through research, the police officers saw black men. They saw their size, they saw their hair, and they immediately thought of um, apes because of how they've been programmed in their minds to view black men. So that would be at the top of my list as well, human. Um, so what are stereotypes of black men? What are some of the stereotypes of black men, and how does it make you feel when you think about stereotypes?
Um, for me, I feel like I mean, all of us, we've dealt with stereotypes, probably our entire lives. Um, how does it make me feel?
Hmm.
Man, that's such a loaded question because I'll use work, for example. You know, whenever I was in Miami working on certain shows, um, I had to stop using Tyrone as my name because people weren't hiring me because of they saw my how my name was presented. It wasn't until I changed my name to Ty on my resume and I had to change my voice. Hi, I'm Tyrone. Nice to meet you. And when I would get on set, and the first thing it would say is, "Oh, I thought you were white." Well, would it have mattered if I was white or black? You
Exactly.
know? And so for me, it really didn't hit me until I moved to Atlanta and I started working around more black people and had more opportunities because I just thought, there's just not a lot of black people in the film industry. That's completely wrong.
Hmm.
But having to change my own name and change my voice, how I talk is changing changing who you are, changing your personality, and sometimes I would get stuck in that mindset of like, all right, whenever I go around white people, I got to change how I talk, change my name, so I felt like I had to change my whole complete self.
Yeah, I think to piggyback on that, Ty, from a work standpoint, I've been the only black male in management, and I know what that felt like, right? Just the inherent just pressures, right, to perform, and that could be a lot, right? It could be a lot on anybody. But specifically when you're in that type of environment, because you just feel like that leash, no pun intended, but that leash as long for us
Mm-hmm.
in terms of how we do our jobs. But from a stereotypical standpoint, I think the two things that uh, really affect me, or that I'm adamant about, is being poor fathers and being poor husbands. I think those things are like, I'm very intentional about wanting to change the narrative for us when it comes to that. And I try to utilize my platform and just utilize who I am. Period. Just to kind of to do my part in changing that. I'm a very involved father. I'm a very involved husband. Um, and yeah, I know that there's not. It goes back to my leadership point. I know we have a lot of work to do to change those narratives, but I would like to start with myself, and also being on platforms like this, and being involved with Safe Space. I feel like that's our, or my, opportunity to do that.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
would agree with Will, um, the poor fathers and the poor husbands. And the biggest thing that I used to get every time that I introduced myself to someone about being, having 3 kids or having 4 kids, at the time, and the question was all by the same woman. And
Hmm.
it irked it irked me about it, because I mean I grew up without a father, and my mom has never been married, and so I told myself at a young age that you know that's not going to be me. Like, I want a family. Like, I've been married since I was 19. I'm 29 now,
Wow.
and I have 4 kids all by my all by my wife,
Yeah.
and I'm here. Like, I'm here when my kids get up in the morning. I'm here when they go to sleep at night. I take them to school. Like, I spend time with them. Anytime the school call, I'm the one that picking up that's going there. Like, when my wife need me, like, I'm her partner. I'm there for her. Like, and it's another thing I think is I may be saying wrong, like, that we don't communicate, and it's not everybody. It's not everybody. Is not the fact that we don't communicate, is that we don't know how to communicate, or there's a gap, in between the communication. But I I try to change that part.
Um, some stigmas that black men walk with. Well, I'll tell you what, that's the whole premises of what safe space is built on to a certain degree that affects men.
Hmm.
And I think everybody just spoke from their personal beliefs and things that have happened to them. But the fact shows that at the end of the day, all over the world, we're the last chosen of the group. That should tell you, on every continent, we'll be there for all the, like I said, the grunt stuff. So when you're in the grunt stage, you're seen as a definition that's put on you as opposed to a definition of who you are. So
Hmm.
as a result of that, you get the last of everything. So for me, the workplace is one, home is one. The stigmas of the trends in today's society is another. We're just now getting to a place where we're congregating and speaking about our feelings and trying to involve ourselves, to get that out and then past that point to find solutions or positive solutions so we can work together. So this is just the ball is just now rolling. But
Yeah.
I would say that in all aspects of life, I think we get the stigmas. You know, you tell me the topic, and I can tell you that after conversation, we're probably going to be in the low end of it.
Yeah. What pains you as black men?
Ooh, so much. I mean, so much. I mean, how we're viewed is a big one for me. And just to kind of piggyback on Piero's what he spoke about in terms of communication, I think we we're probably the only demographic who really has to pay attention to how we communicate, right? Because you could be someone who is very in tune with your thoughts and with your feelings, and how you articulate things really matters, right? Because if you say it the wrong way, or because you addressed it, it could come off as being aggressive, right? But then if you don't say nothing about it, then now you're being passive. So the way that we communicate is important, but it's something that, I mean, it takes time, right? Like not a lot of people have that skill of being able to communicate. And another thing I would say is just from a mental health standpoint, therapy. Like so many of us grow up in single parent homes, or you know what I mean, like having to go through some stuff, and that alone, in my opinion, requires some type of therapy. And we all figure out our ways to kind of manage through a lot of things,
Yeah.
but it's hard to do this stuff alone. You know what I mean? And when you just kind of compound the stereotypes, the stigmas, all these other things on top of how you grew up and whatever those past traumas are, it makes life that much more difficult.
Hmm. Anyone else?
I can take an early jump at this one, and again, to piggyback off of what he's saying is that we're not heard.
Oh,
We're
wow.
listened to, but we're not heard.
Say that one more time.
We're listened to, but we're not heard.
Mm.
Okay. Look at the Black Lives Matter thing. Still going on.
Mhm.
They'll listen to you all day. Ain't nothing gonna change like that, But I think that the opportunity is in us kind of working with ourselves, and kind of coming back together, and doing certain things. And like the way I looked at it is that this helps us talking now, help us looking back within our community helps, and starting to work together help. But the biggest thing that pains me, honestly, is that we're listened to, but we're just not heard.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
so Dax, what will it feel like, or what does it feel like to be heard as a Black man?
I don't know, fellas. Can we jump in there and answer that? Let's lighten it up. What does it feel like? You ever, something that you're not, it's so bad that we're even not used to it. When we
Yeah.
are heard. That's how bad it is. Imagine working your whole life on a really hard job. And then that's what I guess that saying comes from, like, when you die, then they recognize you.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the icing on the cake for that saying right there for any Black man. They're like, oh man, he was such a good guy, this and that. That happens more time than often.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not on that level, but it happens on, you're just not heard. You're told to be strong. And then, like Ty just said, the unfortunate situation, right, is that he said it best. He said, we're calibrated to go harder. Why? You're already breaking. Why are you going harder? So I think that, again, when I go back to the statement that I made earlier, is safe space is a great way to start and really kind of activate people's feelings, get the feelings out, let them know that they're heard too. You're human. I get it. You're here, brother. You go through it. You're supposed to go through it. Then past that point, you can see how to qualify somebody's mind at a higher learning situation. We haven't been activated at. Some people are living with partners where it's just go to work and go harder and go harder. You don't even know anything about that person. You're just working. So that's what I mean. I really, how would it feel? It would feel appreciated. When you feel appreciated, sometimes you get the higher learning aspect of a mindset, meaning that a man has more to him than just what you see. You get more quality time as opposed to just time. So that would be a starting point. I'd say that's what it would feel like. Yeah, you would get the best.
I think that's the word, man. Appreciate it.
Yep.
I think that's the one word that I would assume that most Black men will say that they don't feel is appreciated. Whether that's in their relationship, in the workspace, as a parent, just period. But I think a lot of that is kind of driven by like a lot of societal beliefs, right? And how we're looked at in society. So like I said, like the devaluing of fathers, Black fathers, like that in a sense, you kind of feel like you damned if you do, but you for sure damned if you don't, right? Like if you don't take care of these kids, then it's over. But when you do, and you like in a co-parenting situation, and now you're almost expected not to be the father that you want to be because you're the father. Like it's like mothers are afforded so much grace and fathers just aren't. You know what I'm saying? I saw a meme the other day that said, if dad can't afford to get something, he's a deadbeat. But if mom can't afford to get it, she tried her best. That's crazy to me, right? Like
Yeah.
but that's just how we're viewed, though. You know what I mean? And to me, my personal, I guess, agenda, or what I'm intentional about every day is doing what I can to change that, and utilizing every platform, every opportunity that I get to speak to change that. Because that's really where it starts. Like, we can't, if we don't have these platforms such as yours and the one that we have, who's really putting the information out there?
Right. Right.
So yeah, I think appreciation is the word for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Ty, I know you wanted to say something. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, I'm listening to what you guys are saying, and to piggyback off the first question you had to Dax is how would it feel to be appreciated by a black man? I had a hard time thinking about that, because my wife is sitting here next to me, and I always tell her I don't feel like anybody listens to me, and it stems from being a little boy, not having anyone to listen to me, not having anyone to open up to. And it's followed me. I'm 35 years old now. It's followed me all the way until here. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, dang, how would that feel? And I'm still like, I don't know how I yes, appreciate it, but to me, that doesn't feel like enough. And not in a sense of being greedy, but in a sense of like, as a black man, I tell my sons all the time, I feel like I have to walk around on eggshells. When I was in high school, I got constantly pulled over by police officers for absolutely no reason, always messed with all the time. And so as an adult, sometimes I feel like I walk around eggshells because I never know what's going to happen. I never know who's going to try to mess with me or who's going to try to, say something. So I'm just sitting here thinking, like, how would that really feel? And that bothers me, because black men shouldn't have to walk around thinking that,
Right.
we shouldn't have to feel that type of pain, but yeah, back to your original question you were asking. Sorry, what were you asking? Because I lost my train of thought after that.
I'm sorry. What pains you?
Yes, what pains you? Not being enough.
Oh,
Growing up, we're always told we're good to be athletes. You're good to play sports, but you're not good to do anything else. You're not good enough to be doctors or scientists or anything like that. People love watching us. People love our style. They love our music, but that's it. We're not good enough for anything else, no in between. And I always try to teach my kids, go for everything. If you want to play sports, play it. But also, if you're good at math, be great at math. If you're good at science, be great at science. Don't let the world tell you that you can't do anything else outside of that.
right.
But I always have that feeling of not being enough. And that really pains me.
May I add this too onto what he just said? Yeah, I said, you're listened to, but you're not heard. I think when you're heard, you partner up and it brings out the best in you. It brings out the best. It validates your opinion in your next moves without you feeling like you have to conform to anything. And once you feel validated, I think it's a much more smoother partnership in terms of anything that you do. When it's almost like saying, "Hey, we're all gonna eat food, but we're gonna put a plate here for Dax because, well, he's not here, but he deserves a plate regardless. It's not a matter of when we come in, So I think it's just a sense of validation. Just to add to what Ty said, some of this stuff does stem from earlier, but I think that we are at a place where that's a necessary act for a black man because we know what the grunt work looks like. We're always in the grunt work, of
Wow.
things,
Yeah.
and that's it. We're the leading regime in the grunt work, So I mean, that's just pretty much this. That's why I always say listen to, but not heard. If you heard, it's a whole different situation. There's a level of understanding in the transaction.
Well, to add to what you said as well, I think a lot of men are used to conforming to society, conforming to
Yep.
whatever they say to do.
Yeah.
You know, I think if we can break that cycle as well, that changes the whole generation.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Just being in the room. Imagine being in a room talking the whole time you want to say something, and you know what the job looks like outside of the room, right? Nobody's been out there to do it, but every time you say something, they shut you down. Do that for 20 years. Eventually, you're just like, I hate this room. I'm just gonna say.
I'm an eggshell breaker. That's what I break eggshell. I believe in leading with love and leading with respect. But on the flip side of that, I have zero tolerance for disrespect. So that's just who I am. So I'm always lead with love. If I feel like I know something, I'm gonna speak it. If I don't know nothing, I'm gonna shut up. That's just how I am about it, about the topic, about the job at hand, whatever it is. I just believe in that. But I'm not gonna silence myself for nobody to feel like they're above or bigger than I am. Like that's just not gonna happen. I'm not intimidated in that way. But I think a lot of that comes from the way that I grew up as well.
Exactly.
I grew up in a super abusive environment. My father was incarcerated most of my life. My mother was addicted to alcohol. So, for me, I know what it feels like to be silenced in a sense, right? And so I always said when I got a voice, I'm gonna be heard. Like that's just what it's gonna be, right? Like I'm gonna have to suffer whatever consequences come with that. But I'm standing on a lot of stuff, principles. The way that I just believe in being the example for the people around me and for my family. So that's just the way that I move.
Yeah.
Accountability.
Right.
But it's going to take people like you, Will, though, to break that cycle because a lot of people weren't raised like that. A lot of people don't have that mentality. Like I said, a lot of people they get stuck, and it's like, all right, this is where I live, this is where I've been. I might as well just keep going.
I know.
Yeah, that's all I know.
Yeah.
Yep.
I saw this thing on Instagram the other day, and this ant was crawling around this pool of water, right? And the person moved their finger around to close the hole up even closer. And the ant, all they had to do was just walk out the back way, right? So then he closed the back way. So the ant was literally just in this circle, just going around and around and around and around, because that's all it knew, is to just keep going around in a circle instead of actually just crawling on top of the water to get out. Some people just get stuck in that cycle.
Yeah.
They don't know anything else. This is all I know. This is all I've ever had. This is what the world keeps telling me. So this is all I'm going to do. But that's why I said it'll take people like you, to have that mentality to break that.
Yeah.
You know what I also think about that? I'm sorry, Nika. We have so much information like exposed to us, right? Like just at our fingertips, right? So I always say, your experiences in life are either going to be motivation for you to be great, or it's going to be an excuse for you not to be shit. That's just what I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that if you do the work, if you want to do the work to be better, you could be better.
Oh yeah,
you could be better. You gotta want to do the work. It's not just gonna come to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, but these are things that I learned after losing my mom, after losing my dad, that who I wasn't really close to. But now kind of finally feeling like, man, I'm just on my own and my life was spiraling. Man, I need help. So I've been in therapy for 14 years now, and I've seen how it just changed my life. Like I know if I didn't go through that, bro, y'all wouldn't be seeing me right now. I know that. But it's the work though, right? Like my children were motivation for me just to be better, just to do better, right? Times where I wanted to give up, bro. I just wanted to, man, it was over for me. Yeah. Just hearing my babies laugh or hearing them say, I love you, daddy, just was enough for me. You know what I'm saying? So again, we gotta be self-starters. We gotta be motivated to want to be better and want to change our circumstances. Like that's a part of it as well. It's easy just to kind of sit where you at, expect for something to come your way, nothing comes, and you keep complaining. Like, yeah, that's a lot of us to do that. But what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? What are you doing to change your circumstances? That's what I tell my son all the time. What are you doing to change? I didn't think I lived to see 25, bro. I'm about to be 45 years old.
What?
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, man, like that in itself for me is inspiring. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't see a life at 45, dog. I'm telling you that.
Wow.
but I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know people who have been through far less that's not here no more.
Yep.
Right.
So that's my motivation.
I think that we need to see, I mean, it's good to see you with this attitude. However, we need more people, more Black men, let me say that, more Black men that are in the lives of our young teenagers to witness your type of attitude per se.
Yeah.
Because that's where that's who we need to get to.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
Will, you remember me saying this? It's damn near impossible for you to do it alone sometimes.
Yeah.
Mm,
Me saying that. You see, sometimes, man, we try to take on this stuff. Like Ty said, it's not easy to break that cycle, you know. But hey, maybe there's a lesson in the sense of having that one guy who's, you know, as a friend, like a Will, who's like, hey man, this ain't working. We're gonna try something else, you
Right.
know, because it helps you break some of the cycles, you know, the monotony of a bad situation.
yeah,
You know, my mother used to say this to me. She said, you won't know a good situation until you get out of a bad situation, or at least, or if you try something else, but you got to make the room for it, you
yeah.
know. So, you know, that's it. I think that you do need people like that. You know, I'm more like a Will Spirit at the end of the day. You know, I do speak my mind on certain things, but, you know, I think the adulting side of it is that when you start knowing when to speak your mind,
There you go.
you know,
Yeah.
and that's the part, you know, and how to be effective with your voice, you know, and that's the part where you start growing. And I've always kept mentors around me to
Mhm.
help groom my voice, so I wasn't just shouting in the room sometimes when I needed to talk at a certain pace.
Right, right. I want to lighten it up just a little bit. This is a fill in the blank kind of statement. When a man leaves his home, when a man leaves his home,
Mm.
Come on now, fellas. Come on, Ty, you got something for this. Come on.
I think there's
Oh,
some caveats to that though, right?
yeah.
Like
hey,
Because I'm like,
there's some caveats because obviously we have men out here who may not be capable of doing that, right? Like that's the thing. So if that person is leading a home, I don't know what that home looks like. But if you have someone who is I guess hell bent on, you know, putting their family first and making sure that they are the example for that home, I think I would say that that's more than likely a home that has a lot of love in it. There's a lot of respect and discipline in that home, and I would think that the future of the children in that home would be stable as well in terms of a path being laid out for them to be successful. They have a mother and father that they can come back to bounce things off of. To me, that's a healthy home, depending on the man that's leading it.
right.
If that answers the question.
Yep, absolutely. You could answer this and fill it in however you choose. So, when a man leaves his home, Piero.
When a man leaves his home, I would pick it back off Will. I would say there's love.
Hmm,
Um, I'm big on, uh, like you said, as far as the communication wise, of trying to change the the narrative in the case of not being heard and not being loved. And so that's the biggest thing me and my wife and I try to do with our kids is try to get them to be able to express themselves to us. You know, I have a 9-year old, 8-year old, 6-year old, and a 2-year old. And so we my biggest thing is my son and my oldest son and my oldest daughter whines, and I'm like, hey, stop whining, just tell me what you trying to say. Like, use your words. Like, I know you know how to talk. Use your words. Tell me what's wrong, because I'm the older I get, the more I learn life is about perspective, and we make the situation worse just by how we're looking at it, how we thinking it, and it may not be as bad. So that's I don't know if I got off topic, but the biggest thing is basically is feeling love and feeling heard. And so that's what I want for me, but also I try to get for my kids as well. So the older that they get, it won't be a repetitive cycle of not feeling heard and not feeling love.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Ty, you don't want to take me to take it? Sure, I'll chime in. When a man leads his home, correct is the question.
Yep.
It sounds like a difficult question, but honestly, it really truthfully isn't. I think there's certain things that are in place. There's principal values, there's partnership, there's a foundation before anything. Those things provide a safe space for people to roam, you know. Then there's love, there's applicable situations to how people work. There's a level of understanding. He has the key to know, pretty much the first direct key to know how his wife works, all of
Hmm.
his kids works. He's taken the time to understand how they work, and he's made the room to be the person to insert love and principle and respect when those things are needed in all aspects of the home. I think once those things are ignited, I think colors come through the partnership. He's established a sense of order. Okay, you
Yes.
know, between partnership and children values, which separates the two between parental supervision and parenting. When those things are in place, I think he acknowledges the fact that children can grow as children, and he can transition them off into their middle years and onto their grown years. So I think those are some of the value systems that come as a result. He's also established mentorship for when he's not around,
Yeah.
um, a representation of what his home will look like in the future. So if there's a situation where he's not available, it doesn't all fall on his partner. She does have somebody that she can talk to or lean on. I think all those things graced by God is what leadership is. So it's not so much of the physical aspect is learning almost the love language and being the mastermind of how to penetrate anything in this home at any given time.
Wow.
Hey man, how many women are letting their husbands do that though? Let's talk about that. Talk about
And
that.
you know what,
That was a great answer, Dan. I hear you.
Will?
That was good.
Will, and that was the reason why I asked this question, because there was a social media question about women submitting to their husbands or their men. And that's why I asked you all to, answer this question. And I think it starts with leadership of the men. So go ahead, Will. Go for it.
No, I agree 1,000,000%. I think if you're not on the same page with your spouse, period, like that's first and foremost, then you're not getting to where that what Dax is talking about. That never that time that point never comes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to have these conversations. In my mind, in my opinion, I feel like you gotta have these conversations on the front end.
Mhm.
But a lot of us are afraid to have those conversations on the front end because you're afraid of like running that person off, men or women. But I
But they don't
felt
know
like
what they're looking for. They do
say
not
again.
know. Most people do not know what they're looking for in a relationship. Do
Oh
not know
yeah,
what. Yeah. Look, I'll
for
be
sure.
up right. Most people, man, ain't supposed to be married. Period. They're already they're in the game.
Yeah, but
And
that's our fault though. You know what I'm saying? Because
and
men,
that's cool.
I don't feel like enough men collect data. Like I feel like
Yeah.
they just go like what I mean by collecting data. I mean
Yeah.
taking the experiences from your past relationships and figuring out what you want, what you need, what you
Yeah.
don't want, what you don't need, and looking for that in that next thing, right? Because most men, especially in your 20s,
Don't
20s,
think like that.
30s, you only looking at dang, her body straight. Oh, she got all her teeth. She good.
Right.
But ain't nobody looking for the substance. Like, man, how are you as a mom? What do you do for a living? Do you have any? What are your dreams and aspirations? Like, men
But
don't think that far ahead. So that's the problem. So now when you get to these intimate moments and these things happen, now feelings are involved. Now marriage is on the table, and nobody knows nothing about nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you don't
I
find out.
think
You already said I do. Now you like, okay, well, I didn't see her. What happened?
But that goes back to what you said earlier about, that's how you were raised. a lot of men weren't raised like that to have that type of structure. I can tell you right now,
I wasn't raised that way either.
when I was in my 20s, I for sure wasn't thinking about any of that. I didn't care what you was thinking, how you was talking. All I was thinking about how your body looked.
Come on
That
now,
was it.
stop preach.
Hey, look, I'm not exempt from that, bro.
You know,
That was
so
me too. You know what I'm saying?
a lot of men don't think like that. You're damn right.
Right. I say, wait, what you talking about? Oh, she's trying to be serious. I'm gone.
But that's the problem, though. And that's what I tell my son. My son is 25, so I tell him the same things. Like, ultimately, we hold the cards on who we ultimately become as fathers, right? Because without us, you can't have no kids. So you need to be the one vetting this person that you're laying down with, and making sure this is somebody that you can see co-parenting with. I didn't have this information when I was 19 and I had my son.
Right.
I got it now, and I'm making sure that he understands it. You know, because it's real. Like, that co-parenting situation can go bad.
Yes.
And it can affect your whole life. So you want to make sure you're making these sound decisions on this end of it, so that you're not making the same mistakes that I made. That's my information for my son.
Right.
I want to add this to what he just said. It's just an ever-ending cycle. That's all it is. You know, the partners in the home need somebody to reference. Just there's always a reference. There's your grandparents. If your grandparents weren't there, you got to find something that looks like what you see. And ask questions, and it's just got to keep on going. The minute you decide to take it on yourself, that's too much power for one person.
Right. So modeling, basically.
Yeah, that's just it's not a fighting situation. And if I have all the success being the perfect model parent, I may have the perfect model aspect, but internally I may not have the softness that I needed. So it's a give and take situation. And, long story short, no one person can have all that power.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is a kind of a fun one, I think. Tell me you're a Black man without telling me you're a Black man.
Go ahead and stereotype yourself without stereotyping yourself.
This is a positive one. This is a positive one. So go for it.
Dax walked away on it.
Yes.
I got tattoos everywhere. You see all the tattoos?
Okay.
Big chains, got a beard. You see Nip in the back? Yeah, I'm Black.
Right.
I'm Black.
I got the dreads, my tattoos, same thing.
Piero.
I don't know. I was just gonna say I work too.
Piero, come on, man.
I'll tell you right now, Dax about to come back with something crazy.
I got a tattoo. I mean, I work 2 jobs. Oh, and I got a lot of kids.
All of the above. I tell you, I'm a Black man without saying I'm a Black man. Is that the question?
Yes.
I don't know. That's a stereotype that's in your mind.
Oh man, I thought you went and grabbed a prop.
Right. I thought maybe he was getting ready to. I thought maybe he was getting ready to show me all his do-rags. I don't know.
I was a intake cloth or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh man. That's a good question, man. Like a Black man. Talk about my mama. See what happened.
There you go. There you go.
Talk about my mama. See what happened. Nah, but I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that question. There's so many different things. Talk about my wife. See what happened.
Exactly. Exactly.
I probably own hoodies than and t-shirts versus polo shirts. It can go any way. So it's so many different things. Oh yeah.
I got a whole room in my house full of sneakers.
There you go.
He do.
There you go.
There
you go.
Got it.
There you go. I love it. Thank you, guys. So define what a healthy relationship looks like to you. And it doesn't have to be, just with your wife, but it can be, working relationships, any type of relationships, brotherhood, this brotherhood that a safe space has.
Man, the biggest thing that stands out to me is respect.
Yeah.
Just respect for one another. I think that's the biggest thing in any relationship for me. Just making sure that I'm being respected, that I'm not being disrespected. Again, that I get what I give. That's important to me.
That's good.
Yeah,
I would say,
go ahead, Pierre.
I would say communication, trust, because I mean, you can hear a person all day long, but I mean, if you don't trust them, you're not gonna believe them. You get it. So I would say respect. Definitely, you get what you give, and I'm big on feel how you feel, but it just like you want me to understand where you coming from, understand where I'm coming from. So to be there, to go along with that, to be heard.
Got it.
I was going to say communication as well. I know I know you said it doesn't have to be our physical relationship, but I'll just use my wife and I when we first started dating. You don't communicate very well with me, and I was constantly butting heads all the time. And it wasn't just in our relationship that was happening. I started noticing it happening outside. So communication, trust, love, respect for sure.
Awesome.
For me, I think I agree with what all the guys were saying, but for me, I think there is another part to that, which is the ability to be yourself. I think I would want a situation to where, there's a valid space for you to have your interpretation, and be yourself. Some days you're going to be mad. Some days you're going to blow up for a second. The only thing I can ask of you is don't stay in it. Don't build a house in it. I think healthy relationships come when people can have as they said, what that storm looked like. You're gonna need a second, and that's all right, And I would say that part of this, or that part of the conversation, and what the guy said, those two fused together would be my answer. That means I accept you. I see how crazy you can get, and I'm cool with it. And we're gonna continue to rock on, because when I get my days, just give me a second, and just keep on promoting my crazy shit. That's all.
I think that just depends on what you're talking about, man. Because if that crazy leads to being disrespectful, bro, I don't have no space for you in my life.
Well, not, but that's why I said, if we said respect, cool. Now imagine you can have a bad day, and some of those days might come like, damn, da 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 da, but your parameters and boundaries.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I don't, just for clarity. I'm not saying come out here, come disrespect me, but I am saying you're gonna have days I ain't gonna be the best looking person.
Because you got a lot of people, man, who keep relationships close to them just because they got a lot of time with them. And I'm not one of them kind of people, man. Family, friends, whoever. Like, that time don't mean nothing. Like, I don't put a lot of weight on time. I don't put a lot of weight on titles. I put my weight on how you treat me.
Yep.
And that's it. You know what I'm saying? If you treat me the same way I treat you, we're gonna be good forever. You know what I'm saying? But that first time that stuff is the other way, that's where
You
it's
on
gonna
your
be.
own.
That's where it's gonna be the other way.
That's good.
It.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with what he just said. Some people sometimes they hold on to a bad relationship because it's got history.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, man, we and this person been friends for so long or whatever. That's cool, but you were also 5'2" then, and you 6'1" now. Things change, season changed, and we move on. So, so it's just part of growing up. It's part of learning, the dynamics of your foundation, and trusting truthfully in whether you're a Christian or not, in God, that you're gonna be all right, standing for something, defining yourself. So that's it.
Yeah. Think about how you were taught to socialize as a Black boy. Unparent how you were parented. What would you do different in helping Black boys and your Black boys to socialize? So you're unparenting how you were parented. So what would you do different, or what are you doing different as you parent and love your Black boys?
Say that one more time.
So I'm saying for you to think about how you were parented, how you were taught to socialize as Black boys. For example, don't cry.
Mm.
Unparent how you were parented. What would you do different in helping your Black boys or other Black boys to socialize?
Hmm.
I would say just for me, the way that I've went about parent, because I didn't have the best examples of parents, so I really had to figure out this stuff on my own.
Right.
I spoke about this on one of our episodes, but one of the biggest things that I learned as a parent was not to minimize or dismiss my children's experiences, because those experiences are something to them, and obviously the reason why they will never have to go through what I had to go through is by design, right? That's the reason why we make it that way. So what I had to learn was, instead of saying to my son when I was 19, oh, that's not nothing, I had to do X, Y, Z, right? It's really dismissing his experiences. And what that does is it makes him not want to be communicative to me about the things that he goes through. And I don't want that. So I have twin girls they'll be 16 next week, but it really made me be better for them, and also ultimately better for my 2-year-old, because now I just figured out how to utilize my experiences to help through theirs, but it's acknowledging the things that they're going through still, without saying, oh, that's not nothing.
Right.
So I guess that was just one of my biggest learnings, just from a parental standpoint.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Excuse me. I would say, for me, not be so sheltered. Growing up, my parents kept us away from a lot of things that helped us and protected us. But at the same time, I didn't have a lot of street smarts growing up at all. How to move while you're out in the streets, how to do this, how to do that. So I try to keep my son with me as much as possible. All my boys, whenever I go somewhere, and just give them real life experiences. So whenever they get into situations, they know how to handle it right then and there, and they're not afraid to, or they know who to call or how to get out of a certain situation. So, not be so sheltered is how I'm trying to unparent the things that I was taught growing up.
Hmm. Anyone else?
I got to think about that question. Just, I grew up in a pretty stable, parent situation. My mom and my dad never really, fought, so to speak, in front of us and stuff like that. So the experiences that I had were relatively straightforward for the most part. My mother did a good job not to show us too many things. Dad did a good job not showing us a lot of things as well. But we knew, what was going on. So for me, just as far as what I would undo and do, I think, again, it just goes back to principal values. I think a good listener, effective communication, and tone is key. That's one thing I've learned as well. These are some of the things I'll try to put in my offsprings at an early age. Be the person that can control the temperature without a lot of movement. And that's the thing. And understand that you control your own 2 feet. Always. That's the biggest thing. Wherever you see your 2 feet, more than likely you're going to be there with your opinions and everything you got. So, once you learn that the power of that and the magic of where you can take that, and owning that, come to me for round 2. I'll tell you the rest.
That's good. That's good. Pierre.
I will piggyback off part of what Will was saying in regards to not to dismiss my kids' experiences or how they feel about a certain situation. I grew up, my mom used to tell me all the time, you can come talk to me about anything. But then when I come tell her about the situation, she snaps, and it's not. Then the space is no longer safe for me to say what was on.
That butt is not safe, huh?
Right. So, how I would parent that is to give my kids that safe space to say how they feel and express what's on their mind and what's going on, and to really not have, let me say, no judgment zone for them as well, because they are kids and they are growing and they are learning. And so once again, is not the situation may not be as bad as just how we're both looking at it.
Right. Right. That's
Why do
good.
people say no judgment zone? Everybody judges.
Right.
That's the dumbest thing people say to me. It's funny. They're like, man, I ain't gonna judge you. I'm like, hey, listen, player, I'm guaranteed to judge you. If anything comes out of this, that's for sure. So I don't understand that.
I agree. Remember that time. What was the one thing or event that made you take notice of your mental health?
Come on, Ty. Counting on
I think the first time that I ever really sat down and realized that, like, damn, I might need to go to therapy is right before COVID hit. Um,
Wow.
I had just got out of a crazy relationship, going back and forth with this girl. I moved here, and I thought I had like this perfect job, making good money, but life just was not moving. Like things just was not going the way I was supposed to be going. And you talking about waking up feeling empty as hell? I'm like, man, like, and I'm talking about I'm going out every night. I got my friends around. I was single at the time. Like I said, I just got broke up. So, you think life is supposed to be good. I'm like, this shit ain't it right now. I'm going on walks, just trying to pump myself up. Um, but I had so much stuff built up from my childhood that I hadn't talked to anybody about before. And that's when I was like, I need some help. And I remember a friend of mine, she was the one who actually recommended it. She was like, you don't seem okay. She was like, there's something different about you. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, whatever. He said, you should go to therapy. And I think I've told Will and Dax about this before. I said, the first thing I said, black people don't go to therapy. We don't do therapy. I'm not going to therapy. I'll be fine. Just kept brushing it off. And finally, I ended up doing it my first therapy session. The lady was like, well, here, this is a safe space for you. What? And I just broke down and just started breaking down everything, and never really realized how much I needed someone just to talk to. Wasn't even really looking for someone to give me an answer. I just needed someone to talk to without actually responding. You know.
Wow. Wow.
Come on, Will.
Man, listen, I've had, man. So for me, it was when my mom passed. I wasn't particularly close to my mom because she just allowed a lot of things to happen to me as a kid that I just never was cool with, allowing like her boyfriends to put their hands on me and stuff like that. So I went like 8 years without talking to my mom when I was in the army. And when I got out, we had a surprise birthday party for her mom, for my grandmother in California. And at that time, my mom hadn't seen her sister. She has like 6 sisters. She hadn't seen them in like 20 years. So I knew she was going to be there. She didn't know I was going to be there. And I had just had the twins. But when I saw how bad my mom looked, 'cause like I told you, she was addicted to alcohol. It hurt. It hurt to see my mom looking like that. So I offered my home to her, and she said she wasn't gonna come stay. So I felt like that was another, I guess, instance in where she kind of put a man before me, and so it hurt at the time. But maybe 3 months later, she called me and said she's ready to come. I paid her restitution. I was supposed to move, drive down there when I got off work. I worked nights at the time. That Friday morning when I was going to Arkansas from Atlanta to pick my mom up, my brother called me and told me she passed. And that was like, and still is like, just a very tough time for me. Like a lot, I felt like had I been more mature about that relationship, my mom would still be here. Maybe she doesn't drink as much. I'm sure me having children, I couldn't even imagine my oldest child not having a relationship with him. So I don't know how that weighed on her, but I thought about it once she passed. And so I just felt like my life was spiraling. My relationship with my daughter's mom at the time, we was breaking up, much like Ty, how you said. So just coupled with my mom passing, I'm going through this breakup, not really knowing how I'm gonna do anything right now. I didn't want to be here no more. So I was scared, you know what I mean? I kind of scared myself into therapy. And I've been to Iraq 3 times. I lost 2 soldiers. All of this is stuff that I deal with every day, every day. But what made me go out and seek therapy was when my mom passed. And even that was a process, just having to find the right therapist. I went through 3, and having to unpack can just be a lot on you. And finally found one that I've been with for like the last 13 and a half years. And yeah, I think one thing that I told myself is that I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to be better every day. And every day that I wake up, like I try to make a concerted effort to inspire somebody, coach somebody, mentor, support somebody, because that makes me feel better.
So, my time came when it was a year ago, back in October, and I wanted to commit suicide. And all of that, it came by every day I was going to work. I found myself just breaking down, crying on my drive to work. Simplest song on the radio. I'm trying to, hype myself up before work, and gospel music, ugly crying, in the car, like, God, why? Just everything going on. And I was having a conversation with my cousin, and I was just explaining to him, because me and my mom, I've always known that I've had daddy issues. I've never realized that I had issues with my mom as well. And I helped take care of my mom. I've been helping take care of my mom since I was 17. And my mom will always say, you don't never come spend any time with me. You don't, you always drop the kids off, or you'll come make sure that I'm good. You take me to my doctor's appointment, but you never come sit with me. And I realized that I never had the urge, or to go spend time with my mom. And it sucks to even say it, but it's realistically, like, I love my mom to death. I make sure that she's good, like she makes sure that I'm good, but I never had the urge to really just spend any of my free time with her, because for one, I'm always working. I'm always making sure that my wife and kids good, try to make sure bills are paid, and try to make sure that my mom gets to her doctor's appointments, and I really have no time for me. And so, my mom, I was going through, and I realized that she wasn't growing up. My mom always worked. My brother was in the street. I was at home by myself. So we never spent any time together growing up. So as I got older, I realized that it was some things that I missed with her. It was like I say, even when those conversations came about, when I was trying to tell her how I feel, they was always dismissed. So um, I felt bad about that, because my mom was hurting as well, but she wasn't expressing it to me. And then me and my wife was going through some things, and just everything. I felt like I was just existing, like I wasn't living. And it got to the point where the only constant feeling that I felt was pain. I was always hurt. I was always tired. And I just said, like, granted, I got kids. I love my kids to death. It was just like, God, I'm no good to nobody if I'm feeling like this. And it's like you said, it was a constant thing. And so I just, like, if I know that, people always say it's gonna get better. It get better for a little bit. It's not a long time though. It's always that constant pain, that constant hurt. So I'm like, I don't want to. I didn't want to live anymore. But then I had a conversation, that night with my wife, and she was like, "I need you," which was the very first time that I heard that though. You get what I'm saying? After 11 years, 9 years of being together. And she was like, the kids know. I know that. But at the time, I wasn't feeling, that. It was the pain.
Yeah.
So I did go to counseling, but it's still a work in progress.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Piero, for sharing that. I remember when we first met, you expressed that. So I thank you for just being transparent and sharing that. I know it's going to help others. Thank you. That's
Can you? I want to make sure that I answer this question like properly. Can you give me the full question again? So I just make.
yeah,
Yeah.
no problem. I asks, remember the time, remember the event that um, made you feel like, hey, I need to check my mental health.
I've had about 8,274 of those. No, I'm saying. We had that every day, man. No. So no. I'll say this. First of all, with every guy here, it's a thing of like when you get to a place where you're not being heard, but you're available to take everybody's pain, everybody's load.
Mhm.
So from my situation, I think it was when the first time this happened to me was honestly, there was a heartbreak that happened, and my mother had an aneurysm,
Mm.
and my brother had a stroke, all within a couple of months of each other. And I just remember, like every other black man, turning to God and saying, "Hey, first thing I remember saying was, I'm too young for this. I can't take this on. I'm used to him being the father figure, him coming home and telling us what to do and stuff like that. I didn't know how much pressure my brother was under. I didn't know how much pressure my single mother was under. So when they went under, the forces, everything turned into me and my older brother who had gone away to school at the time. And so it was a bit tough, for me mentally. And I remember, I went through the same motions. I broke down, and really, really started to look at myself as like, am I good enough? Am I strong enough to do this? Am I then asking the question of where's my father? That was when I was like, okay, I'm missing a whole part of my development here. My father was alive, but he was not around. And although my mom was separated, there was that time that was missing. And I really realized in that moment how much of my life needed manhood. And that's when I started to seek out, a little bit more. And honestly, mine was not therapy. It was, I found a mentor. I found a great mentor, and I prayed for this. And one blessed day on the way back from LA, just working, it's when I found him, and great guy. Today I'm still with him. He taught me so much about the principal values of development. Once principles are in place, you can play as much as you like, but knowing how to kind of insert those things, and how to develop as a man, and also he taught me how to choose friendship, the word friendship. Oftentimes we tag titles to things, not knowing what they are, and then he went down the line, did the same thing with marriage, and did the same thing with everything else. So that's when my first check was, because at that time I've heard of things and I tagged my own personal value to them, but I didn't know what they meant in terms of prioritizing my growth and how they will apply to my life as I grew, and how to deal with pain. I lost my son. Um, 2019. My wife had a urine wall rupture, which it damn near killed me, mentally, but having these people around me also taught me, where to kind of put, how to position myself to handle the tears, the pain, and to process it in a way to where I wasn't taken out in the middle of it. Because had it just been me, and I had continued up the mindset of having the mindset that I had earlier, like everybody else, I probably wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it. So I'm very big today on what it is to have the right men, around you, and that's why when I speak and I say, it's key to have, it's not just go, 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 is heard, respect, discipline, right?
Hmm.
Patience and God, in that order. And everything else will open, because the willing you to do better is already kind of there for the most part, in most people. You want something, but if you keep on applying it to the wrong thing, you're not going to make it.
Hmm. That was good. Last one, fill in the blank. From this moment forward, I can be a better Black man by.
Um, I always
I
say,
think
from this day forward, I could be a better Black man by being an example, in every way possible. Um, and when I say that, I always think about my boys, how I move, how I speak, how I talk, how I treat my wife. That's one of the probably the biggest things that I'm big on with my boys is treat women with respect, treat your mom with respect. Um, so I always just try to carry myself with love and respect when I'm around the house, when I'm out. And I always tell my 7-year old when he gets in trouble, I say, keep your head up. Don't tilt your head down all the time. That's one thing my dad always tell me. When you lose something, you get in trouble, still keep your head up because society's always going to push you down. And one thing my wife is big on, she's like, when the kids get in trouble, don't bring them home and beat them down. The world has already beaten them down. So we always try to practice, show them love, show them the discipline, but still show them love. So from this day forward, I could be a better Black man by being an example.
Good.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. So I mean, y'all, you and Dax know me, and that's just big for me. Just to continue to be the example, continue to lead by example, continue to be the example to my friend groups, to everybody around me, and in my home.
Thank you.
I guess I can take it. I like this quote. Will always does it, and honestly, he lives by it. He says it all the time. Lead with love, man.
Hmm.
Lead with love. At the end of the day, I know that brother's mindset was never to break me down or to get one up on me. He was just saying, hey, example, hey, if you do this, this is going to happen. If you do that, that's going to happen. I think talk just opens up, the whole board. That's a part of it. And he's just saying that out of love, and I think that would be my thing, lead with love. And then, of course, the principles of things, and try to insert that into communication and whatever is going on at the moment. But I definitely say leading with love is the big thing. And be a great listener. We talk a lot, but be a great.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Piero.
What was the phrase? The phrase again?
The phrase was, I can be a better Black man by.
I can be a better Black man by moving with purpose.
Ah, that was good.
Sure.
Moving. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. That is our time. But before we go, tell our listeners how they can connect with you, starting with Piero.
You can follow me on Instagram, Piero Coleman, or my business is Coleman's Kitchen with Coleman's underscore kitchen.
Thank you. Ty.
You can catch me on Instagram at t.baker jr. And you can catch our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, YouTube, not Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, all social media platforms at the Safe Space Podcast and the safespacepodcast.com. New episodes out every Tuesday.
Thank you. Dax.
You guys can catch me at DA1702 on Instagram or at the Safe Space Podcast on Instagram. Either one is, best place to find me.
Thank you. Well,
Instagram, I'm Big Will 78, and you can find me with my guys on the Safe Space Podcast on all platforms.
thank you all so much for highlighting your experiences and for providing your expertise on being a Black man, on reflecting on your challenges and your wins, for doing your part in changing the narrative, and lastly, for keeping your commitment by being a part of the show. That means a lot. For merchandise, visit iChangeTheNarrative.org. Thank you to our sponsors, Position to Prosper Coaching, as well as we have to give a shout out to So Organic, So Suave. You can follow Sauce on Instagram, and don't forget to follow us on TikTok, IG, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at iChangeTheNarrative. That's all one word. We've added a weekday pop-up segment. We'll see you soon, and thanks for listening.